What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 33 of the DE podcast. My name is Daniel. I'm your host, and we are very glad to have everybody here today. And I'm joined here by Ekamresh.
Hey, everybody. I'm Ekamresh. I'm the other host of the DE podcast, and I think we'll jump right into a podcast which is just filled with a lot of exciting things going around the league. And I think to start it off, we will head to Chicago, where the Chicago Bulls are on a 9-game winning streak, and they are now 2.5 games ahead of the Nets, 3 games ahead of both the Bucks and the Heat, and they have the number 1 seed in the East, which I think is actually definitely a surprise because most people had them at around, I would say, the 4 to 5 seed, and the fact that they're easily the number 1 seed right now is just very impressive. But despite that, I don't think that it's like their win streak was the greatest thing in the world, because the teams that they've beaten haven't been the best in the league. Like they've had to beat the Wizards twice, the Hawks twice, the Pacers twice, the Magic, and the Rockets, and none of those teams are, I believe, even over 500. So I would just say with this win streak, what are your top 3? What are your rankings for the top 3 in the East out of the Bucks, the Nets, and the Bulls?
I mean, even though like the Bulls had like the easy schedule and everything, and they barely beat the Pacers and the Wizards with the game winners of DeMar DeRozan, like, I mean, he's still like playing really well. So, but obviously, like compared to like the Nets to the Bucks, I'm not really sure yet. But the Bulls have beaten the Nets both times. I don't remember if they've played the Bucks. I don't believe so. So I would put the Bulls first, the Nets second, and the Bucks third. And I'll put the Bucks third just because, I mean, like last night they had their full roster and they played against the Hornets, who are obviously not like, you know, the best team in the conference, and they lost to them. So it's not, I guess, disappointing, but it feels like kind of like the Lakers, like a couple podcasts back, where LeBron, or in this case Giannis, is doing like everything. And yeah, like there's Chris Middleton who's helping him out, but then there's nobody else. And they did waive DeMarcus Cousins, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I mean, I think the Bulls are in the best place they could ever be. I mean, last year they weren't even in the playoffs. So definitely they're one of those teams like the Suns who jumped from like being one of the worst to like, you know, arguably one of the best.
I agree with a lot of what you said, but personally for me, my rankings probably have to go with number 1, the Nets, just because they just got Kyrie back and they're looking to be even better than before. They obviously had none of their big 3 for quite a few stretch of games because of COVID. The Bulls did have a similar situation with DeMar, but I think that the Nets' stronger schedule and similar amount of wins still puts them ahead. Then at 2, I have the Bulls. I think for all the reasons that you listed, DeMar has been very impressive. Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Nikola Vucevic, they got their big 4. They just had a very good season. And then number 3 is probably the Bucks. I mean, they started out slow. They had a huge surge to get themselves back in the standings, and Giannis is back to nearly MVP numbers. But as you said, they're still a little bit lacking in depth, right? They have their big 3 of Chris Middleton, Jrue Holiday, Giannis, but we don't know where else the help is going to come from, especially with people like Brook Lopez being out. Then they just waived DeMarcus Cousins. So we'll kind of see where they head.
But I mean, I kind of like agree with you, because like in a way, but like the Bucks beat the Nets by 15 or 20 or something like that. And it's not like the Nets are gonna have Kyrie Irving for both home and road games. Like there's only road games, so I feel like that might affect the team. Like we saw Kyrie Irving, the team played well. They still barely beat the Indiana Pacers, even though obviously you have to give credit. So Indiana played like really well, but then they played Milwaukee, who didn't have George Hill. They didn't have Jrue Holiday. So they technically didn't really have a good guard. And then they ended up losing by 20 plus. And the Nets had their lineup minus Blake Griffin and then Kyrie Irving, obviously, because he can't play in Brooklyn.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's like that was one game. And I just feel like the Nets at full strength with Kyrie, with KD healthy, with Harden healthy, everybody, their supporting players, Nick Claxton, Blake Griffin, is still better than the Bucks as a whole, and even the Bulls as a whole. And we kind of saw that last season, right? It took literally KD going. It took the Bucks to have KD be basically alone without Harden, because Harden was very injured, came back to the playoff series. Kyrie got injured in that series. It took the Bucks 7 games and just a shoe size to beat them last season. And I don't see that happening again, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like if they were to play in a playoff series this year, I think it would be tough to say who would win. Obviously, because the Bucks made improvements, because it's not like they played amazing in that series. And then obviously Kevin Durant's probably not gonna like go and score 50 every night. Like you're gonna have James Harden who's playing better. Actually, fingers crossed. Then you have like Bruce Brown, but they definitely did it well in the offseason in terms of like not rebuilding, but getting the roster back.
I forgot they signed Patty Mills. Patty Mills was a great addition.
Exactly. That's where I was going. So like they signed Patty Mills, they signed DeAndre Bembry, they signed Paul Millsap, they signed several other role players that can help the team out. So honestly, if both teams were fully healthy, I think the Nets would obviously, win. But with this whole situation where Kyrie is only playing road games and, he's not playing home games, I think that honestly, now that I kind of think about the logic, like it would be kind of hard for Milwaukee because they would probably have to have like 2 different game plans in a way, because Patty Mills would be starting on one game as point guard, and his style is obviously differently than Kyrie's. And then in another game, they would have Kyrie starting. So it'd almost be like this, like how would we deal with 2 different players on 2 different
but I mean, it goes the other way too with the Nets. Like the Nets have to be like, how are we going to play with Kyrie, who's like 25, 26 points per game, and then without him, with Patty Mills, he's probably averaging 15 to 16 points when he starts. So it's like it works both ways. But I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, the Nets, when they're fully healthy, are probably better than the Bucks. But the point is that they're not fully healthy most of the time because of this whole vaccine situation, because of injuries. And so we don't have the luxury of like deciding at what strength they're going to play each other.
Yeah. Only if Kyrie got his vaccine, then this wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, I honestly I hope
it's 2 shots just like into your arm. Like it's not gonna kill you. I mean, yeah. But I think we can move on to one of the teams that might be one of the best in the West this year, the Memphis Grizzlies. They've had an 8-game surge. They were 10-10 around Thanksgiving break, and now they are 27-14, going 17-4 in their last 21 games. And obviously, big contributions from Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and then we have a new guy, Desmond Bane, and he could be most improved player, and Brandon Clark. So honestly, in my opinion, I did not expect him to do good at all, because I just didn't think that Ja had we haven't really seen the playoffs yet, but I'm afraid that like Ja Morant might not have the experience in the big stages yet. I mean, obviously he had the play-in and he had a really intense series against the Jazz. So I think he's had enough experience to the point where he can like say, hey, like my team can go to the conference finals, second round, and get close with the good teams. And they beat the Warriors once this year. They beat the Suns once this year in Phoenix, where it was a back-to-back game. So currently matched up with Dallas, like with my opinion already being said, like what are your thoughts on their chances if the season would end today?
Well, I think honestly they would pretty clearly beat Dallas unless Luka went. Well, actually, now that I think about it, I think it's a tough series. I think it would be at least 6 or 7 games, just because of Luka and how good he is. Like if we remember for the last 2 seasons Luka was matched up against the Clippers, and he was like, he did not get any help from Porzingis, from Trey Burke, from Tim Hardaway Jr., from anybody, but he was going absolutely insane, scoring all these game winners, having
That
these
would be
30
funny.
point.
That would be funny. That happened again, where they played the Clippers in the first round and then they lost again.
That it could if the Clippers get like the 4 seed and the Mavericks get the 5 seed, that could actually happen, which would be crazy. But I mean, I don't know. But going back to my point, I think right now the Grizzlies have the edge just because they have way more depth. Like as we said, they have Ja Morant, who's having a career year, Jaren Jackson Jr. who's having another very solid, like not all-star, but like fringe all-star year. And then Desmond Bane just out of nowhere is just going completely insane. And Brandon Clark, they have a number of guys, and Dylan Brooks too. They have a bunch of depth, which I think that Dallas doesn't have, and Dallas like keeps continuing to lose every single year. So I think that they would beat the Mavericks in like 6 or 7 because nobody's going to be able to guard Luka anyway. Like that's just not, it's not going to be a thing. So I think Luka himself is going to be enough to win quite a few games for them, but it won't be enough to win a series.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I guess like the Grizzlies are more like balanced than the Mavericks, I guess, because they have they have like several players who can do big things. But the Mavericks, I mean, they're not bad at all. They beat the Warriors by like 18 the other day, so it's not like they're bad. But
it's also like Steph Curry's worst game though.
That's true. But like, I mean, when Luka plays well, hopefully he can like bring his whole team around him, and then they can go and kind of win on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So I think we can move on to the legendary, maybe if not the best team in the NBA. The Toronto Raptors are in a 5-game winning streak. Fred VanVleet has definitely impressed me. I'm shocked at how good he's playing because he's never played this well since like the 2019 finals. He's averaging about 21.7 points per game, 5 rebounds, and almost 7 assists. But in the last 5 games, he had 30 points per game. And actually, 2 days ago against the Utah Jazz, he had his first ever triple-double, 37 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. And now the Raptors currently stand at 19 and 17, 7th in the East. So honestly, they are looking very nice right now. The players are playing really well. Pascal Siakam is playing decent. He's averaging about 23 points per game in this 5-game span. And they beat some good teams. They beat the Utah Jazz, Milwaukee Bucks, San Antonio Spurs by 25, the Knicks by 15. And then they came back from 16 down against the Clippers to win by 10. So usually I'm the one who's like saying this, but I'm going to ask you, Ekamresh, do you think like Fred VanVleet has what it takes like right now to be an all-star this season?
Oh, for sure. And I think like I don't know if he'll get a starter, but I definitely think he's in consideration, if not a lock for a bench spot in the guard position. Just because what he's done in these past, I would say, not even just the past 5 games, but like the past 10, 15 games, and even the whole season, I guess, is just absolutely insane, right? Nearly 22 points per game, very efficient. And then he's continued to up his game as we go on. Now, obviously, as you said, he's averaging more points than ever in his career. He's become the first option for a team that's competitive in the playoffs. And I think that's more than enough to get you an all-star spot. So I think that he definitely has what it takes. He's shown that, like, I think it was, I don't remember what team it was against, but he went on a 19-0 run by himself in the third quarter where only he scored points. Nobody else on the Raptors was scoring except for him. And he's just, and then the 30-point triple double. He's just having so many good performances this season. I think that this is his breakout year. And, he might also be in consideration for the most improved player of the year too.
Yeah, I guess he could be it. I mean, I think like this is kind of like steering a little bit away from the Raptors, but like the most improved player, like for me, I don't judge it as like the person. I kind of feel like if a player is good and then he goes to like insane, I think that would be more for the MVP award because you're already good. But if you're like not good, like not really known. Your numbers are okay, and then you go to like the decent, like pretty, like really good numbers. Like Fred VanVleet last season, he averaged about like 19 to 20 points per game. So in terms of his actual averages, it hasn't been a big improvement, but I think compared to other players in the league, he may not be most improved player just because it's not like he was bad last year. He was like arguably one of the or not arguably, but he was one of the best players on the Raptors. So in terms of most improved, I would like to see him as most improved, but I'm not going to guarantee it, and I'm not going to say that I think it's going to happen, but definitely to be an all-star, I think that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that he's obviously not going to be like top 5 or even top 10 maybe, but do you think that he could be entering the MVP conversation if he keeps it up?
That's
and the
hard.
Raptors win, and like the Raptors are like the 6th or 5th seed.
That's kind of hard because the Eastern Conference is so complicated right now because of like all the teams that have been surprising us, like the Bulls. It's like I'm thinking of the teams that are better, like the Bulls, the Bucks, the Nets. We almost beat the Nets. We lost the Nets by 1 point. Scotty Barnes missed a half-court shot. I'm disappointed, but then you have the Bulls, the Heat, the Cavs. I think Raptors versus Cavs would be such a good series. We lost them by 45 2 weeks ago. Our whole team was in COVID protocols, so we cannot blame our team for that loss. And the Cavs had their full roster. But to be like fair, like if the Raptors were fully healthy and the Cavs were fully healthy, that would be such a good series. Like first, maybe second round if we get lucky series. That would just
remember LeBronto all over again.
I know. No. If we beat the Cavs, Toronto will go absolutely nuts. We're gonna be so happy. Everyone's gonna go fire at LeBron on social media and say, "Hey, we just beat your old team. Take that." And then LeBron will like sign like another like 2-year contract to come back to the Cavs and like blow us out 4-0 and 2 playoffs in a row.
Ooh, that was painful to watch as a Raptors fan.
That was painful. No, but the Raptors, I'm confident about them getting a play-in. I'm like 100,000,000% confident about them getting a play-in spot if they keep up how they've been doing. And it's not like Scotty Barnes has been playing like well. Like, I mean, he's playing decent. He's averaging like in the last like couple of weeks, he's averaging about 11, 12 points. So he's third in the rookie race. So it's not like Scotty Barnes is playing at his peak level. Like, and Siakam and VanVleet, I mean, Siakam is really close to his peak level. VanVleet looks like he's at his peak level. And I have to give credit to Masai Ujiri because at the beginning of the season, I hated Scotty Barnes. I don't know why.
What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember? Yeah. And because of Jalen Suggs. And then I kind of thought, like, no, Jalen Suggs has been out for 2 months with an injury. Like, we're cool. Like the Raptors, like it's like I'm trying to think of like a team to compare them to, like the Hawks. They have like 2-star players in VanVleet, Siakam, and in the Hawks case, Trae Young and John Collins. And then they have so many guys around them that can help them out, have big games as well. Gary Trent Jr., he's had a few 30-point games this season. You have Scotty Barnes, he's in the race to be Rookie of the Year, possibly, or at least top 3. Then you have Chris Boucher, Precious Achiuwa. Goran Dragic betrayed us. Goran Dragic, if you're listening right now, you are a traitor. He is in Miami. He is in Miami working out right now. Like,
well, here's the thing. You don't need Goran Dragic because you have Fred VanVleet. How about that?
Exactly. We don't need him. So Goran Dragic, go back to Miami where you came from. No, but Precious Achiuwa came from Miami. He's been playing really well. I mean, he's a great 6th, 7th man on the team right now. Then we have Malachi Flynn, who was our rookie. I think he's not a rookie anymore, but he was last year. But he's playing decent. I mean, compared to last year and this year, I think what the Raptors did in terms of the offseason is balance out their team to where you don't have a star player. You may have 2, 3, maybe even 4, like really like got good players, maybe in all-star talks, maybe not. And then you have several role players who are on the team help you out. And we signed Dylan Wilson to a deal. I don't really know. I don't think we really necessarily need him. But then we have Justin Champagne, who came from Europe. He's actually playing decent. He's averaging, even though he's averaging like 8 points per game, like he's scoring in the big moments. Like he's like, his last name is Champagne. That's exactly why he's good. The champagne. So no, I mean, in terms of the Raptors, I'm super confident about them. But I think I've definitely talked enough about the Raptors, giving my big speech. But I think we can definitely move gears over to the LA Lakers. We keep talking about them every single podcast.
They're so inconsistent.
The Lakers are finally over 500, 21-19, 6th in the West, 1 game behind the Dallas Mavericks. LeBron has been crazy. He's been averaging almost 34 points per game, almost 9.5 rebounds and 6 assists, 52.6 field goal percentage, almost 41 3-point percentage, almost 2 blocks, 2 steals. He has been on fire. He is 37 years old and he's playing like he's 21 years old. So you definitely got to give credit to him. And then you have Malik Monk. He signed a deal on $1.7 million on the offseason. Is it the steal of the offseason other than obviously DeMar DeRozan or Lonzo Ball? Like Malik Monk, like at the beginning of the season, I watched him in Charlotte a couple of times last year because that's where he was. He looked like he was going to be good, even though he's a little bit older. Like he's been showing up in LA. He's been that one guy that you can kind of look forward to. Hey, if LeBron plays bad, this guy can kind of help him out a little bit. Obviously, with Anthony Davis out right now. And Ekamresh, LeBron is he in MVP conversations? And they played the Grizzlies today. Remember last time LeBron had that pass that went out of bounds to end the game?
Oh,
Who do you have tonight? Do you have Ja Morant or LeBron? Will Ja Morant dunk on LeBron or will LeBron dunk on Ja?
Yeah, all right. For the first one about the MVP, I think LeBron is easily getting there in the top 5 in the MVP conversation just because the Lakers finally started winning, even if they haven't really beat like super good teams. Like all the teams that they beat are under 500. But I think that he's definitely in the MVP conversation. His stats have been absolutely crazy in the past 2 weeks. And so I think if the Lakers keep going up in the standings, we'll see a lot more ESPN posts about LeBron being being in the MVP conversation. And then for the second question about the Grizzlies versus the Lakers, I like the Lakers. I like LeBron, but I don't think they're winning today because the Grizzlies, like the Lakers are in a hot win streak, but the Grizzlies are on an even hotter win streak.
I know.
So,
and the Raptors aren't even hotter.
I don't know if we'll go there, but I'll let you have it. But I don't think they'll win today just because of the fact that the Lakers, you don't know who's going to show up every game outside of LeBron and Malik Monk. Like Russell Westbrook, he's been okay for the past few games, but he's been very inefficient and a lot turnover prone, which are kind of his 2 worst attributes. So outside of him, they have like Carmelo Anthony, who's been okay. He's had some on and off games. Last game, he had a good game. But I think just the fact that, again, the Grizzlies are way more balanced as a team this season than the Lakers are, and they also defend better and they shoot better and do a lot of things better. I think that they'll take this one. But I think it'll be a close game just like the last one. So hopefully, I think it's going to be one of those games where LeBron scores like 35 and Ja scores like 45. But listen, Russell Westbrook had no turnovers for the first time since 2016. Remember? I'll give him credit for that.
Like that's like the funny thing is that there are players in the NBA who average like 1 turnover, and when Russell Westbrook gets 0 turnovers, it's like the whole world just like came to a complete like abrupt stop. So no, but I don't know about the Lakers. Like I mean they're looking like that type of team which has like super good games and super bad games, not like average games, where they crush really good teams like they did it with the Blazers and the Hawks, but then there's times when they lose to like bad teams like the Thunder. But listen, we lost to the Pistons like the Raptors, so like it's okay.
But I think my question for you is like, I think like, do you think that they'll get more consistent throughout the season as they get like Anthony Davis back, as they start to gel more, or no?
I think so. I mean, they've definitely improved since the last time we had a podcast. So if they keep it up, then they'll definitely be, maybe top 6 or maybe just get a high playing spot. I definitely think top 8. They'll be top 8 this season. But again, we're like barely, if you want to say we're barely halfway through the season right now.
Mhm.
Like we're like they're teams that had COVID issues, so they're a little bit under half or over half. So I mean, if they keep it up, then they're gonna barely have a winning streak. But I mean, there haven't been a lot of teams that have had like really big winning streaks, except for the Suns, obviously, or the records like the Suns and Warriors. I believe those are the only 2 teams that have under 10 losses right now. But then the Jazz have 11, and then obviously the Nets and the Bulls. So, yeah.
So what you're saying is like that they could catch up. They could catch up.
Yeah, I mean, not to the top, but definitely like I think like around like the 4, 5, 6 spot. I think it's like a big war between the Grizzlies, the Lakers, the Mavericks, and the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think top and also for the 3rd spot. I think it's kind of between Utah, Golden State, and Phoenix right now for those top 3 spots, because Utah's only, I believe, a game or a game and a half behind the Warriors and the Suns. So I definitely think that they could catch up. But definitely, like, speaking of like the Grizzlies and the Bulls, I have a question, Ekamresh. So, are DeMar DeRozan and Ja Morant underdogs in the MVP race? Like, what do you think about that?
Ooh, that's okay. I feel like, yeah, they both are, because I always hear in like on Instagram, on ESPN, everything I hear. Oh yeah, DeMar DeRozan, he's having such a great season. He's having his best season since his Toronto days. Ja Morant, he's having his best season ever. But I never hear like, oh, are they considered for the MVP this year? I never hear that. So yeah, they are underdogs. I mean, everybody's like, oh yeah, the Bulls are the 1 seed, but who cares? Because the Nets are the 2 seed. Who cares? Because KD and Steph are having such good years. I feel like they always overlook a lot of these other guys. So they're definitely underdogs. And I mean, my MVP like list right now is probably KD at 1, Giannis, KD at 1, Giannis at 2, Steph at 3, Jokic 4, LeBron 5, DeRozan 6, and Ja Morant is somewhere in that like 7 through 9. But yeah, they're definitely underrated. Like sometimes I don't even see them like in the top 10, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, same with me. But like Steph Curry, like he's been kind of like iffy like the last like 3 games. And I feel like more teams are becoming like aware of it. So obviously they come in with a game plan mainly to defend Steph, avoid Steph from scoring a lot. And it's definitely working. So like Steph Curry is not shooting well at all. He's like shooting under 50%. So
yeah, he's shooting under 40% from 3 for the first time in his career, which is crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have to see how Steph Curry does, because at the beginning of the season, he started like up here, then he went down here, and now he's like maybe like around here. So like if Steph Curry goes, like hopefully, gets back into what he's been doing. And honestly, Steph Curry's been shooting so many 3-pointers. I think try to go for more like I don't know, like mid-range. Like do some more like pick and rolls or screens, just to like get more mid-range shots or layups. Just because I feel like he's kind of like overestimating his 3-pointers, because it kind of feels like everybody thinks that he's going to go out and score like 8 threes a game, but in reality he's scoring like 2, maybe 3 or 4. So he's definitely needs to improve on that. But I mean, I have another question. So these are all like definitely like short answer questions, but definitely questions that have been on my mind. In the rookie race, I talked about Scotty Barnes being like number 3. Kate Cunningham is obviously catching up there. He's number 4. But we have Franz Wagner. He's number 1 in the rookie race. He's on the Magic, which are one of the worst teams in the entire league. He's averaging 15.9 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game. Are people underestimating him, or is it just that like people aren't really like thinking about him?
I think it's because he's on the Magic. So like nobody really cares. You know what I mean? Like if he was on the Heat or if he was on the Lakers, oh my God, they would be calling him an all-star, everything, giving him all the praise in the world. But it's because he's on the Magic. The Magic really haven't been good since 2008, so they're just kind of a little bit too irrelevant to get any hype. But he's definitely number one in the. I don't know. Evan Mobley is also having a really good season, but he's definitely number 1 or 2 in the rookie race just because he's scoring really well. He's actually pretty decent at defense, and he's just constantly been improving throughout the season. Like, I think a few weeks ago, he was only averaging about 13 points per game, and now he's up to 16. So that improvement is also a big help to why he's number 1. And I think the rookie race should just be determined on like how well the individual player plays as opposed to like their team record, because most of the time you're going to get like a rookie that plays pretty well, but their team is going to be really bad. So I think rookies kind of are a special case, different from the MVP, where you have to look at like how they are doing specifically and not anything else.
Yeah. I mean, even though I'm a Raptors fan and I kind of like Scotty Barnes now a little bit more than I used to, like I still think Franz Wagner is better than him. But yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely because of the team. Like I feel like in every single NBA award, like your team has to be somewhere in that mix, even if it's like a small fraction. Definitely in the MVP race, it's definitely big because it like let's just do an example. It's not real, it's just fake. Jalen Green is averaging 35 points per game, and his team is like 8-30 right now. Like no one's going to like vote him for MVP because even though you're doing that much, your team is not doing well at all. Your team's terrible. But then if you're like, I don't know, if you're averaging 30 points per game, your team is 4th in the West, maybe going to like the second second round, third round in the playoffs. Yeah, then you're going to be high because that people know that you're doing well, and then your team's also benefiting from it. But then we have DeMarcus Cousins. He played for the Bucks for a while. He's signing a 10-day contract with the Nuggets, and the Bucks said bye-bye. So do you think that the Bucks made the right decision of him leaving, and also what do you think of him coming to Denver with probably being the backup center for Nikola Jokic?
Ooh, I think it was. I understand why the Bucks did it, but I don't think it was the best decision in the world, because I think the Bucks did it because DeMarcus Cousins, like at this point in his career, he's not going to be anything good on defense just because he can't move like that anymore. And the Bucks obviously probably wanted someone that was more like Brook Lopez, who was a pretty great defensive center. And so DeMarcus Cousins only really replaced the offensive side of him. So I think the Bucks felt like Bobby Portis was a better fit for their team than DeMarcus. But at the same time, like DeMarcus had really good games. I mean, he had some okay and bad games, but he had some really good games in the minutes that he was given. So I think he would have been good to just keep around just for some more depth at center, because then you could have had Bobby Portis and DeMarcus Cousins in your lineups. But unfortunately, I guess they didn't choose to resign him. And I think with the Nuggets, I think it was a good decision because Nikola Jokic needs as much help as he can get at this point in the season, right? Like I think like Facu, I don't know exactly how to play, but Campazzo is the second leading scorer right now for the Nuggets, like which is something that should not be happening for a team that's trying to compete, obviously for a playoff spot. So DeMarcus Cousins will just be good for their depth.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think that the Bucks didn't make a good decision because it's not like he was playing terrible. I mean, he had a few bad games, but he definitely played decent, and they got a couple wins because of him. But with the Nuggets, obviously what you said about Nikola Jokic and everything, I definitely agree with, because if you're in the playoffs and Nikola Jokic is obviously having to do stuff himself, like, I mean, at least now because Jamal Murray is still injured, like if Nikola Jokic gets like injured, but he still plays, this like James Harden, right? He had a hamstring injury, but he still went out and played. Like DeMarcus Cousins is there to help Nikola out, even if Nikola obviously doesn't play well.
Yeah. And I guess we'll move on to, I guess, the last two big topics for today. The first one being the All-Star voting first returns. So I think I'll read the West out, you get your thoughts, and then you can read the East out. But so starting with the West, our front court goes LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Paul George, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Anthony Davis, Karl-Anthony Towns, Carmelo Anthony, Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Ayton. Then for our guards, we have Steph Curry with the most votes out of everybody in the West, with over almost 1.8 million more votes than second place Luka Doncic for the guard spots. So Steph, Luka, then John Morant, Klay Thompson for some reason, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Edwards. So any thoughts on specific players, like where they're ranked?
I definitely have a lot of thoughts on that. How is Klay Thompson number 4 on the cards? Klay Thompson should be so happy. He hasn't played a single game in the season, and he's number 4 in the guards. But I mean, Steph Curry, obviously, I'm not surprised by that. Luka, not surprised. Ja, definitely not surprised. Klay Thompson, I'm definitely kind of intrigued by that, but I kind of think that people just wanted him to like come back and then go straight to the All-Star game where he could have fun.
I think they voted him because they liked him just as a player.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of surprised with that. Devin Booker and Chris Paul, I'm not surprised. Donovan Mitchell, not surprised. Dame, everything else, I'm not surprised. Even with Anthony Edwards, for the front court, how is Andrew Wiggins number 4? The Warriors are on track to have 4 All-Stars this year.
And one of them played 0 games.
Yeah. And then but LeBron, Nikola, Paul George, I definitely agree with that. Andrew Wiggins, I mean, it's not like he's playing bad at all. Like, he's one of the best players in Dub Nation right now. But to be over Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, Cat, no. He definitely Carmelo Anthony, I'm not really surprised because people like him, but he definitely does not deserve to be over Rudy Gobert. DeAndre Ayton, he definitely, I mean, honestly, I'm not surprised by DeAndre Ayton at all because, DeAndre Ayton is he's definitely improved. Obviously, right now, I believe he's in health and safety protocols, but he's definitely played really well this season. He obviously, showed out his playmaking skills last year in the finals. But those are honestly my thoughts. I think.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think pretty much everything you said was correct. The only thing is, I don't think Anthony Davis should be so high just because he literally hasn't been playing that much this season. He's been so
injured. You have Klay Thompson who's played 0 games and he's number 4 on the card.
Well, I don't think Klay Thompson should be on there either. I don't think people like Andrew. I think that if you get injured and you have you're injured for the majority or half the games this season, you shouldn't be able to be voted for All-Star just because then you're giving it away from guys who have been there all season and been pretty productive too.
Yeah. So I think I can go on and read the East. For the front court, we have Kevin Durant, obviously. We have Giannis. So we have 2 guys who have over 2 million votes on the front court. But then we have Joel Embiid, who's almost 1 million votes behind Giannis. Jason Tatum at 4, Jimmy Butler, Jarrett Allen, Bam Adebayo, Miles Bridges, Marcus Aldridge, and Nikola Vucevic. At the guards, we have DeMar DeRozan, James Harden, Trae Young, Zach LaVine, LaMelo Ball, Kyrie, Derrick Rose, Tyler Hero, Darius Garland, and then the legendary himself, Fred VanVleet. So, what are your thoughts on those?
Okay, I think the front court is pretty great actually. Joel Embiid, Giannis, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum might be a little bit high. I think Jimmy Butler should be over him. Jared Allen probably over him too. Everybody else is great, but the guards, oh my, what is going on here? DeMar DeRozan definitely should be the top spot, I think. James Harden, great, fine. Trae Young, sure, he's having a great season. I think he had he's having 17 straight 25-point games right now. Zach LaVine, great. LaMelo, great. Kyrie Irving has played one game this year.
It's because people like him. It's
come on though.
I think for the All-Star game should not be judged on who likes who. They should be judged on who's playing. Because let me tell you right now, if they judge it on who's playing the best this season, DeMar Trey, Levine, James Harden, then LaMelo, then okay, fine. I'll give Darius Garland over Van Vliet, then Tyler Hero, then Derrick Rose, and then Kyrie.
Yeah, and Derrick Rose is literally out, I think, for like the season or something with an injury too. So how is he even like if he got selected to be an All-Star, he wouldn't even be able to play.
I'm just mad that like Fred VanVleet is number 10 and not like number 1, you know?
Well, if Kyrie and Derrick Rose weren't on there, then Fred VanVleet would be like
because the All-Star game's in Cleveland, so it's not in Brooklyn. So that means you cross out Kyrie Irving, you cross out Derrick Rose. Wait, how many guard? Is it 5 each?
I think it's like because there's two starting for the guards and then so 4, right? And then some reserves. Because I think it's 13 on each side. So I don't know. You know, can pick like 5 guards, I guess.
It's 2 guards, 3 front court for the starting. So I'm gonna assume like six guards and like 7 front court or something like that for the overall. So that means Tyler Hero and Darius Garland need to get injured ASAP. So
whoa.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, but here's another question actually. Do you think that LaMelo Ball should be higher than Darius Garland and Fred VanVleet? Because LaMelo only averages 19 points per game, which is less than both Garland and Fred VanVleet.
But I mean, in terms of like how he's been playing, I mean, obviously I watch him more than like most people because he's obviously in Charlotte and everybody loves him. But like he's definitely playing well. But I think VanVleet and Garland, I think Garland hasn't gotten enough praise for how he's playing. Even me, like as much as like he's an all-star, I keep thinking that he's not good, even though I know he's like good. I just haven't watched him enough. But like I don't know. I think LaMelo should be below both of them. But obviously since I'm like I live in Charlotte, like obviously I don't know because like everyone's talking so much good stuff about him. But in terms of the front court, I do not agree with Miles Bridges or LaMarcus Aldridge being up there, or actually no, Jaren Allen's fine. But like Miles Bridges is not like, I mean, he's not doing bad at all. He's having probably the best season of his career. But like, no, I don't believe he's above Nikola.
I forgot that Aldridge was there. I didn't even see that. Yeah, Aldridge should not be there.
Nikola Vucevic should be above both of them. Bam Adebayo is injured with a thumb injury, but Jimmy Butler's out with an ankle injury currently. He's definitely going to be back by then. I
think like Sabonis should be there, honestly. Over some of these guys.
Sabonis had like 42 points the other night. Like he's been well.
I'm trying to think who else.
Siakam, obviously.
Yeah, and Bradley Beal's not on here either.
Chris Boucher, obviously.
And the whole Raptors team should just be the all-star lineup.
Exactly. Thank you. But I still think that Fred VanVleet should be higher, not because I'm a Raptors fan, but I just believe so. But I mean, it's the first returns. They probably finished the voting like a few days ago, and Fred VanVleet didn't have like his big games until then. So it's not like these are the final votes. If these were the final votes, I would be so sad. But no, they're doing is it 2 returns or 3 returns?
I think it's 2 returns. Then they do the final thing where the coaches vote and they select the all-stars.
Okay, yeah. So I think on the second returns, I'm hoping that Fred VanVleet can go higher than freaking Derrick Rose, for God's sake. I would not be surprised if like DeMar, Harden, Young, Levine, Ball, or Irving. I wouldn't be surprised if they stay there. I think LaMelo might get more praise because last night he had an awesome game against Milwaukee. LaMelo would be so good for the All-Star game because LaMelo is like that type of fun guy on the court. Like yesterday, he did a behind-the-back pass in the first play of the game. So he's definitely the type of fun guy to go out there and have fun. And then for the front court, I think everything will stay there unless I think I'm kind of overreacting about this whole thing, not because like I don't like certain players, but because like I keep thinking that it's based on teams. Like how good your team's doing. I'm kind of thinking about the All-Star game related to like the MVP award. But in reality, it's just how much people like who. I'm surprised that so many people like Jared Allen. But I'm surprised that like 10th place on front court when Nikola Vucevic only gets like 93,000 votes. That means like not too many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
but you can vote daily, right? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Yeah. So let me go vote for Fred VanVleet right now. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
you got to vote for him every day.
I know, right? But I mean, definitely some good stuff on the All-Star game. You know, I'm not gonna go there. I've been to Hornets games like last week. It was pretty chill, but like with the whole COVID thing, there's gonna be so much hype there. I just don't recommend going. Like, just go on your TV, watch the game, have a nice dinner. You know, sit on the couch with your friends. You can bring your friends over. I think I'm going to my friend's house that day so I can watch it there. But anyways, it's on Sunday. That's the main topic. It's on Sunday. Like, that's the worst thing. Like, it has to be on Saturday.
That's true.
Like, I can't stay up till like 11:30 to watch an All-Star game. Like, yeah.
That's very true.
But I think we can move on to the main topic of the day. We have JaVale McGee, who's been out of health and safety. No, I'm kidding. Not JaVale McGee. But we have Klay Thompson. He is back in the NBA. The day the podcast is published, Sunday, January 9th. Klay Thompson is coming back against the Cavaliers, 8:30 p.m. on NBA TV against his old team that he used to rob for 4 years straight. You know, definitely that's something that's really hyped around the NBA. He published his famous "I'm back" quote, and now he's playing his first ever NBA game against the Cavs since Game 6 of the 2019 NBA Finals, where the best team in history, Toronto Raptors, lifted the title. But just for a fun fact, the last time Klay Thompson played an NBA game, Ja Morant and Zion didn't play a single game yet. Tom Brady was still on the Patriots. Russell Westbrook was still on OKC with Paul George, and LeBron wasn't in the playoffs at the time.
Wow.
So definitely something. But guys, just for an info, if you just started following NBA a year ago, you may not know who Klay Thompson is, but you know,
I've seen him play at least.
Yeah, you've definitely. But Klay Thompson played for the Warriors. He's considered Steph Curry's splash brother.
You know what's crazy?
What?
The Klay Thompson injury. Klay Thompson has been out longer than the DE podcast has existed.
I know, right? That's just like crazy. But you know, Klay Thompson struggled with an ACL tear that he suffered in the finals, and then he got an Achilles injury later. But in late November of 2021, he started doing some 5-on-5 work. But now the Splash Bros are reunited. I saw a clip the other day where he hit 24 straight 3-pointers in practice, even though Steph Curry hit like 101. I don't care. But like, a question for you, and then I'll answer it. What are your predictions for Klay for the rest of the season? And will Klay impact the Warriors right off the start, or do you think he'll start kind of slow and then make his way?
All right, I think I'll answer the second question about impacting Warriors right at the start. I'm going to predict his stat line for today's game. I think you can do that after too. I'm going to say he drops 12 points and like 3 threes and just has a pretty decent game back overall. Maybe he'll go crazy. You never know. But anyway.
I think Klay Thompson would have one of those like okay games when he comes back.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be that big of an impact immediately because he still has to get a feel. But especially because he came off of 2 injuries. Like he didn't just have one. He had one in the 2019 finals. Then he had one before the start of the 2021 season. So it's like it's double injury that he's coming back. So I don't think he'll immediately have an impact. But if he's comfortable, he doesn't re-aggravate both of his injuries, he feels fine, then I think that he can definitely return back to some sort of form where he was averaging maybe 17 to 18 points per game, playing pretty great defense, shooting efficiently from 3, being that second option for the Warriors. And then if he can do that, I think that just makes the Warriors even better. And they will easily have a ride to at least the conference finals.
Yeah, I mean, based on how they're playing right now, I mean, Steph Curry obviously needs help because he's not playing well. So hopefully Klay Thompson can bring that like mentality. It's so weird saying Klay Thompson right now because I haven't said his name for like 2 years. But no, I mean, I think the whole world, even if you're not a Warriors fan, I think everybody's excited for Klay to come back, except for like the teams in the West because they know they're going to lose. But definitely very exciting. I mean, personally, as a Steph Curry fan, not a Warriors fan, a Steph Curry fan, I'm super excited for Klay Thompson to come back and hopefully lift the Warriors to the conference finals or title.
Yeah, but one thing I guess I gotta ask is like, how do you think? Because obviously Klay coming back, and if he gets back to his scoring that he was before his injury,
mm-hmm.
How do you think that'll affect like Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, Juan Toscano Anderson? Do you think it'll affect their production anyway, or do you think that they'll?
I think it will definitely affect Jordan Poole because Jordan Poole is their player right now, who is obviously the shooting guard, or I think he's shooting guard right now. So definitely Jordan Poole will be the backup for Klay Thompson unless they decide to put him on the bench for the first game, which I will cry if that happens tonight. If they put him on the bench. No, but Klay Thompson he'll affect Jordan Poole. I think in terms of Andrew Wiggins, I think it'll be even better because Andrew Wiggins is a good 3-point shooter. So if both of them kind of mix together and Steph Curry, hopefully helps out the team because Steph Curry's been passing the ball well. Like hasn't been shooting well, but he's been passing the ball well. So obviously Klay Thompson and Steph Curry can have that relationship where they both pass the ball to each other and it kind of goes off like that. So I'm definitely super excited about that.
And what about Andrew Wiggins? You think he'll have his scoring go down or?
I don't know. That's kind of tough. I mean, I think everybody's scoring might go down by just a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be like Andrew Wiggins scoring 20 and then he's going to score 10. No, I think it's going to be like maybe 16 today. Like, it's not like if you automatically get a player on your team, you're going to get the same exact number. It's just the player's going to, your players are going to score less. I think that they'll do even better. I mean, I think they'll have, now that I think about it, Klay Thompson didn't play with Andrew Wiggins in 2019 or James Wiseman. So James Wiseman isn't back yet, but he didn't play with Andrew Wiggins yet. So or Jordan. No, I think Jordan Poole played with, but I don't think so. Because I think Jordan Poole was a reserve in 2019. But definitely it's going to be new for Klay Thompson. Definitely a new Warriors team since the last time we saw him. Andre Iguodala is still there, but then you had Sean Livingston playing in NBA while he was there. So I think for Klay, he's been. It's not like he hasn't been practicing. He's been practicing with the team. So I'm really excited for his comeback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I think it's just a great thing to have an all-time great shooter like this come back to the game, and I'm excited. Like, even though I don't really like the Warriors and I don't like when they're good that much, I do admit it's fun to watch them. I think it'll be great, and if someone like the Lakers can get back to being pretty good, a Lakers Warriors series would be so amazing.
Oh, that's a sweep.
Yeah, it probably is, honestly.
Get the brooms out.
It probably is a sweep, honestly, because the Lakers aren't nearly good enough. But if maybe with Anthony Davis, it'll be competitive.
Yeah. Well, all right, everybody. So this was definitely a full pack podcast. We definitely appreciate all your support. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to follow us and add this to your liked songs playlist.
Yes.
Yes. On Instagram, obviously, we're not posting on Instagram the podcast, but we published out our schedule on the last podcast. We talked about it, so make sure to go tune in there. We said one podcast a week and definitely having a few posts a week, which we've been doing, posting some occasional short videos. And then on YouTube, we're definitely making it much better. If you're on YouTube right now and looking at our faces as we say this, thank you. I started posting some short videos on YouTube, some short discussions. We've been having great progress on that. One of our videos has a couple hundred views. But we definitely appreciate all your support. And with that being said, everybody, me and Ekamresh will see you guys in the next one.